Hi, Peter Charles here of Hooked Fly Fly Fishing. And today we're going to tie a fly called the Dark Caddis. It's a Rogue River pattern for summer steelhead, and I think it would work well in the Great Lakes as well. It looks a bit like a caddis dry fly, but it isn't. And it's intended to be fished on a sinking line or a sink tip. And I've read that some people tie it on double hooks to help it get down. I'm going to be tying it on a heavy wet fly hook today, which I think will work just as well. So let's get started looking at the materials. The hook is a trout traditional heavy in a size 4. This is the same as a Mustad 3906B, so just a size 4 or even a size 6 will do. Thread is 8/0 black Veevus. We're using a burnt orange floss for the body. The Hackle is brown furnace, and the wing is dark deer hair. So let's get going. So I'm just going to get that started, and then I'm going to tie in my brown hackle, pull it back so the point where I've trimmed it off is right where the body will stop, and you can see that I've trimmed off one side. I like to do that if I want to keep the palmering sparse, because we're going to palmer this floss body. So we want it to look relatively sparse. We don't want it to be heavily dressed. Now I'll tie in the floss. And let's trim off the excess here. Now what I'm going to do is just hold the hackle and the floss up at an angle, and I'm just going to skid my thread back. Now we're going to come forward. Okay, we're going to tie on our floss body. Stroke it to try to flatten it out. Bring it forward in touching turns. Now, because this has been wound over black thread, it will muddy up when it gets wet. The original pattern is tied with black, so I'm staying with it. Okay. I got a few bits sticking up here. This is very old floss and it's showing its age. Okay, now we're going to tie on our brown hackle. You can put a few extra turns at the front if you want, just to create a little bit more bushiness at the front of the fly. Now fold my quill underneath. Now if I'm lucky this will break. There we go. Bring your thread to the back. Now for the deer hair, and we don't want to put a lot in here. This is a rather sparse wing, so you're only putting a few hairs. As usual, get rid of the short stuff and the underfur. Now I'm going to stack this. Being a short wing, it often pays to stack because it will give us the opportunity to get a substantial wing out of a few hairs. Okay, we want this roughly the length of the hook. I'm going to trim off the excess. It's easier to trim first than to trim afterwards. Okay, we'll do pull up. Now very carefully, just get those ragged ends to lean forward. If you find your deer hair is flaring, bring your thread to the back and put a couple of soft wraps right at the very back, and that will bring your your wing back closer together. Okay, time to whip finish. And some head cement. There you have the Dark Caddis. I think this is a great looking little pattern. It should do as well in the Great Lakes as it does on the Rogue River. I'd be tempted in the Great Lakes to fish this just under the surface if you've got clear water conditions. I think it would look quite good. But as I say, you could also try deep as well. And tied on a wet fly hook, it'll get down. I'm tempted to try this in my local river just on a long fluorocarbon leader. I think it'll be quite an interesting pattern to fish. So there you go, the Dark Caddis. Give it a try. Cheers.